This is the Tom Barnard Podcast. Listen live weekday mornings, 8 to 9:30, or anytime you like as a podcast on the Tom Barnard app at tombarnardshow.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
Yeah, Tevin, I do agree with you. Honest to God, I know that AJ was talking about it. He thinks that intro sucks, and you and I were going to argue with him about it. But I think I agree with you that it sucks. We need a new one.
Yeah, I mean, hey, there's two different sides of the fence. I'm standing on my side.
So far this morning, before the show even started, we have trashed all three of us on the backup.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Trash the piss out of everybody. And hey, now let's do a show, shall we? What do you say?
It's like one of those Wild West standoffs where everybody's pointing at the other person. Yeah.
Indeed. Unfortunately, a couple of sad things to report this morning. My Aunt Muriel, my last living aunt, died yesterday. She was a sweetheart of a woman, married to my father's brother, Eldon, who died about a year ago, maybe even a little longer than that now. Hey, the way I look at things now, I go, I remember a couple of years ago, I looked up, it was like 17 years ago. It's like, Jesus.
Jeez.
But yeah, my Aunt Muriel, just really, really wonderful. So the entire Barnard family over there, all the best to you. I thought the world of her. I think you know that. Muriel was a very, very nice woman. No question about it. Just always one of those people who's always very sweet. At least to me, anyway.
Yeah, there's always, it feels like at least one of those in every family. Like I had a great grandma who, her whole sole purpose later in life was she just showed up to bake us cookies and make us hot chocolate, and that's all you ever saw her do. She was always happy, never upset. So it always sucks to lose people like that.
It does. There's no question about it. We'd sit around, although the last time I talked to her, and it was so very sweet, she had gotten. I didn't look at the Star Tribune to see how old she had to be up around 90 something, because I think Eldon was well into his 90s when he died a couple of years ago or last year. But the last time I talked to her, she didn't really know who I was. Mm-hmm. Like Sid, last time I ran into Sid Hartman, he had no idea who I was. That does happen when you get up there in the 90s and 100 and all the rest of it.
Oh, yeah.
But it was kind of cool in a way, and this is the only reason I even bring it up, that the fact that she didn't know who I was at first. Because I called her to, check in on her and all that stuff. And she goes like this. Okay, who are you? Tom. Oh, are you that radio guy? Didn't remember that I was her nephew. Just remembered that I was on the radio. And I don't think she made the connection between the Tom she was related to and the Tom Barnard on the radio. I'm not really sure.
Like, yes, Auntie, I'm also your nephew.
But Muriel, we'll miss you. You're a wonderful person, a lovely person. Always liked being around you. The other big hit we took yesterday, he was somewhere between a friend and an acquaintance. So he's more than an acquaintance, but not quite a friend, because he came in and did the morning show several times with me. He did the podcast with the family several times. He was a good friend of Ron Rosenbaum's. You remember Ron Rosenbaum, right?
Yeah.
He's a good friend of his. That's how I met him in the first place. But Richard Lewis died yesterday. That's a tough one for me, man. I thought that guy was hilarious.
Yeah, the Curb Your Enthusiasm star, correct?
Yes, sir. Richard Lewis. God, he was funny. When you would be in a car with him going along, I could not drive because he would make me laugh so damn hard. I could not drive a car. He was just one of those guys that could just come up these quick pops, man. It was just unbelievable how good he was,
And the weird thing about that is, the most recent episode, the newest episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm, him and Larry are playing golf in a scene, and Larry's got this whole shtick about how he listened in on a golf lesson, so now he knows about this thing vertical drop, horizontal, and he's like whatever. Right. And then they change the subject, and he's just Richard's like, "Hey, I wanted to let you know, I changed my will. You're going to be in it." And then they have this 2-minute back and forth. He's like, I don't want anything from you. I got enough money. If you give me money, I'm giving it to you. He's like, yeah, you're my friend. You're my close friend. I love you like a brother. But yeah, I said, not even a week ago, brand new Curb episode talking about Richard putting Larry David in his will, and then less than a week later.
That is unbelievable.
It's crazy.
I mean, it is crazy, absolutely crazy. But if you never got a chance to meet him, he was just a sweetheart of a man, very giving, worked his ass off, was incredibly funny. Just a really good. I think he made some people nervous because he was so sharp they didn't want to expose themselves to him because he was really bright. So he could go after anybody. Mm-hmm. But I really enjoyed the hell out of it. There's no question. So, Richard, Muriel, good luck in heaven or where the hell ever you are, right?
There you go.
I don't know. You find that out last night before you go to bed, and you think about it all night. We lost a lot of people. Like, obviously, we were talking about Moon a short while ago and several other people. It's one of those situations, man. You're going to get nailed about once a month. You're going to lose somebody that you know or love or whatever. Isn't that suck? What is that?
Yeah, it's one of the unfortunate things about getting old is seeing people that you care about around you start to pass away.
Yeah. Or if you grew up in North Minneapolis, get shot to death when you were 16.
Yeah,
you know, that part too was very difficult to put up with. I still, as far as death is concerned, I still love the fact that my father, who never liked me, treated me like shit my whole life. When he was on his deathbed at only 60 years old, he called for me, and I'll never understand why he did. And then once I got there, I realized why he wanted me, because I'm the biggest guy in the family. He's there. He weighs about 80 pounds, got tons of tubes running up his nose and down his throat. He's gonna be around for about another 10 minutes. I mean, it was just, I guess he lived a few more days after that, but I will never forget. He pointed to this chalkboard and a piece of chalk. He wanted to write something. And the whole time he was writing, I'm thinking, I wonder if he's going to apologize for being such an asshole to me my entire, from 1 year old to 7 years old. I wonder if he's going to apologize and say, hey, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have treated you that way, and blah, blah, blah. So I'm thinking, and I take the board face down, and before I turn it over, I think once again, what is this going to say? Why did he call me? He's never liked me, but he called me specifically to come here. So I think it's got to be, Tommy, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have treated you the way I did. I flip it over, and it says, get me out of here. It's like, oh, so you call your biggest son so I can carry you out of the hospital? Is that what it is?
Gotta make a break for it.
Gonna make a break for it, Tom. Yeah, he lived about 3 more days, and that was about it. But, what are you going to do? I know this. We have to take a break. We got a very, very busy day. A lot of good people on the show today. I mean, not Judd Zulgad, but I suppose we could kind of go, God, we're so lucky to have you. What do you think?
Yeah, you ramp up the day. You start low and then you finish on high.
I love that.
Better by the segment.
Yep.
I mean, look at this. You start with Judd, so you're down here somewhere. So look,
yeah,
I better get
off
my
camera.
Right here. Yeah, right there. Yeah, he's off camera. You're right.
Yep.
Then you got Chris Egert, so you can kind of see the knuckles right there.
Mm-hmm.
Then you got Robert Baril, so that goes way up here, so you can't see that.
Way jump.
Sotheby's, Matt, and Kristyn, same thing. It goes up way up here. You can't even see it.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, we drop like a rock again when we get to Kristyn Burtt. So,
yeah,
that's the whole day. But we're packed today. We're loaded.
It's the circle of life.
It's like a good playlist. You start slow, bangers in the middle, just absolute jams, and then we're going to end with like something really sad.
Yeah.
Exactly right. It's exactly what we're going to do. We got to go to break here. But once again, Muriel, Richard Lewis, I thought the world of both of you. Like I said, Richard was not a friend, but he was an acquaintance. I met him several times. He was, what do you call it when you're acquaintance and you like the guy and he talks? I guess you're not really quite a friend. What would that be?
You're pals.
Yeah.
Yeah, pals. That's a good way to put it.
Pals.
Yeah, you're pals. So we'll be right back. Richard, Muriel, God bless you. In addition to having the best selection in town, K&L Surplus and Ammo also can help you sell your firearms safely and worry-free. If you've inherited a collection of firearms from a loved one and don't know what to do with them, or if you have guns you're no longer using, call Jim at K&L Surplus and Ammo. Jim can help you sell those firearms safely through consignment and auction. I know Jim. He's extremely knowledgeable, and I am not exaggerating there. He is extremely knowledgeable about firearms. He'll help you get top dollar if you want to sell your stuff. He will help you explore all the options and take the work and stress off of your shoulders. K&L Surplus and Ammo is on Lake Drive in Lina Lakes and open Tuesday through Saturday. You can also visit them online at www.klgunstore.com.
Is that text you're sending so important that you missed your turn? Is that text you're sending so important that you ran the red light? Is that text you're sending so important you didn't see the ball coming onto the road or the child that followed? Hi, I'm Mike Bryant from Bradshaw & Bryant. When you take your eyes off the road for even 4 seconds, your vehicle travels 100 yards. That's the entire length of a football field. If you absolutely have to text, you need to pull off the road somewhere safe and do it from there. Texting and driving is against the law and can cause serious injury or even death to you and others. Now that is important. We hope you're never injured in a collision, but if you are, please contact us.
Find Bradshaw and Bryant, personal injury attorneys at minnesotapersonalinjury.com.
Going farther with Mike Bryant on your side, seeking justice for the injured. Bradshaw and Bryant.
Well sung, I thought. You think that was Michael Bryant singing that jingle? You think? Maybe. When you go to a restaurant, you expect the chef to be an expert. You expect your auto mechanic to be an expert when it comes to fixing your car. You judge them both by the results of their work. Josh Arnold is an expert in investments and planning your financial future. Josh Arnold is my expert, and he should be yours too, and I'm very serious about that. You do need an investment guy who knows what they're doing. I've known Josh for quite a while, and he does a hell of a job. I talk to Josh every week, as a matter of fact. He understands the market, the economy. He knows how to plan for your retirement, so don't put it off another day. The man with your plan is Josh Arnold. Call Josh now for a no-obligation 48-minute evaluation. You've got nothing to lose, and you'll have an expert planning and managing your financial future. Call Josh at 952-925-5608. That's 952-925-5608. Investment services offered by Josh Arnold Investment Consultant, LLC Security Investment Advisor. Past performance is no guarantee of future results. All investments involve risk. All comments and opinions of Josh Arnold's and do not constitute investment advice. Tom Barnard's a paid endorser.
You're listening to the Tom Barnard Podcast.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. We're back. SKOR North's Judd Zulgad joins us. I did not pay attention to sports at all yesterday because couple of deaths, Richard Lewis, who was a pal of mine, died. Again, wasn't a friend. We figured it out. Actually, AJ figured it out, that we were not just acquaintances, but we weren't as much as friends. So we're kind of pals, is a good way to put it.
And unbelievably funny guy.
Oh, God, he's funny.
That was really sad.
You could walk down the street with Richard Lewis, and he would have some very funny, smart-ass thing to say about every house, every car that goes by, every street light. I mean, my God, he was clever.
Well, and the whole his, I guess now, last act with Curb. I mean, I don't know how much you watched that, Tom, but I mean, he and Larry on Curb Your Enthusiasm. You could just tell, like you could tell the genuine fondness that they had for each other, and the absolutely spectacular way that they would just basically know what was coming.
Yeah.
So the ad lib part was just so natural.
That's a huge loss. Richard Lewis, tremendous talent, no question about that. We'll enjoy your work forever, Richard. There's no doubt about that. So So what else happened in your world, Pally?
Not too much. Wolves, I think, trailed at 1 point to start the game last night, 14-0 to Memphis. Didn't matter one bit. They won. The Twins got blown out in spring training, but again, I would urge you not to even look at the score.
Why are you looking right at me when you say that?
And that's about it, because I know sometimes you look at the scores and you're like, oh my God, the season's falling apart.
It's over already. There's no chance.
They're screwed. They're going to finish last in the Central. So I'm just trying to help you here. I'm trying to bring some calm on scores that don't matter.
You know what's great about that, though, is it's proof. It's like living proof. My love of the Minnesota Twins and how when they fail, it pisses me off to no end. Mm-hmm. It's the same way I feel about human beings. If I'm always nice to you, it means I don't really care for you.
Okay. Yeah.
That's true. I mean, it's all sides. With me, if I'm a friend of yours, you get in all sides, and that's just how it is. And that doesn't mean that everybody I'm nice to all the time. I mean, some of them I don't even know them, so I'm nice to them because I don't even know them. So,
Right, you're deciding.
Exactly. It's a
very, very good way to put it. You're not gonna give crap to people that you don't want to interact with and are forced.
Right.
To. It's not nearly as much fun. They go away quicker if you just act like, yeah, okay, thanks.
Okay, good to see you. Huh?
Yeah,
nice
great to
talking
see you.
to you.
Great to see you. Fantastic. Great catching up. Bye.
Indeed. So we got baseball. They lost again. We got basketball. They came back and won. Did they not? Did they trail or did they get close? Is that how it happened?
In basketball?
Yeah.
Oh, they trailed. They got
They did?
well,
Okay, I thought
to
so.
start the game. They gave up. I think it was the first 14 points.
Whoa.
But Memphis is a team that has injury problems, and they're not that great. So the Wolves came back and won. The Wolves, I mean, it's the more you watch them, I mean, they got the talent, man. They got the talent.
They do. There's no question about it.
Could be a fun spring.
You know what's really funny about that is like the first really, really mild winter that Minnesota's had in about 25 years. And the Timberwolves are winning every game, so it's like the double bonus. You usually use the Timberwolves to get through winter, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Get through the horrible
Yeah,
weather.
it's like spring training's here now, right?
Right.
We got through it. Spring training's no, I mean it is. I keep marveling at the fact that and look, they could beat themselves. Like there's things that they do that drive you crazy. But just as far as the talent that they have on that team and the ability, I keep marveling at the potential. Like if they put it together.
Yep.
It sort of reminds me of what would I guess I'm trying to think of a comparison. The 98 Vikings is too strong because that team was so good. But you know what it's a little bit like probably? The 91 Twins to a certain degree. Because that was a really good team.
Yep.
The 91 Twins were the 87 Twins were a great story and it was great fun. But I don't think anyone until they actually were celebrating the World Series was like, this team can win a World Series. Right. 91 was a hell of a ball club.
Yes, indeed it was. There's no question about it. I just, oh, you know who I had dinner with last night? You guys probably know both of them. Okay. I had a little Italian. You know one thing I love about Italian food? I weighed in yesterday and I had dropped a couple of pounds, right?
Right.
I went and ate Italian food last night to get on scale. I gained 3 pounds from eating pasta. It's like,
oh, God, yeah.
Come on, God, what are you doing? I mean, Pasta's, it's not real, obviously, but you hold on to it.
Pasta's the death of me, man.
I love it.
I can stay away from sweets, you know, no problem. I can avoid chocolate, no problem. But the carbs, pasta. I love pasta. Sorry,
I do too. No. It's very important to talk about because I got on a scale this morning. It's like, what the hell?
What happened?
I ate some spaghetti bolognese last night, and it was absolutely and little calamari, which is breaded, which doesn't exactly help either. But man, that food is delicious, really good. So we're out at this place called Stressa. My buddy Claudio. I've known Claudio for 27 years. He owns it. It's a wonderful place. But I'm there with Gary Homan. You remember Gary Homan? He worked at BBDO for years. He was a member.
Oh, I remember the name, yeah.
Oh, absolutely. He played on the University of Minnesota football team for all those years and all the rest of it. And so it was Gary Homan and Coach Glenn Mason, baby.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, I had dinner with Glenn Mason last night. He is a great friend. Both of those guys. I love those guys. We went. So this is when Mason had the team really cooking there for a while. He really did.
Yep.
And BBDO was kicking ass. The KQ Morning Show was kicking ass. So the three of us would get together. But you know what? Because I haven't seen Glenn since COVID, I think. It's been about 5 years since I've seen Glenn, right? He's a great friend, but people didn't go out much, right?
Right.
So, you run into him, and I might have brought up another football coach at the college level to him that I cannot stand, and he was very patient about it. He goes, well, I can see your point. He never went after the guy himself. He just kind of went, okay, Tom, you're a little off the deep end now. Relax.
I think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, you might. I think he's a dreadful coach. I'm sorry. He's nothing but showboat, pain in the ass. He's never won. Has he ever won anything?
Well, Fleck in 2019, they put together that nice year, but his problem is that he is an atrocious game coach.
He really is.
In game, he's one of the worst I've ever seen.
Terrible.
And he doesn't improve. I
know. No, we talked about, but Glenn Mason was very courteous. He's like, well, I guess I could see your point.
You know what's funny? I've got a dime store theory about Glenn, and I don't know Glenn well at all. I've come across him a few times, but anyway, my theory about Glenn is this: because of the change in Glenn from his coaching days to now, and his career arc, I think our mutual friend Lou Nanny got a hold of Glenn. Said, you don't have to be so prickly, Glenn.
Yep.
You know what? People in Minnesota, first of all, they forgive and forget. Like we love to like take a person that we might not be high on, but then they're nice to us and we're like, oh no, we're sorry, we love you. And Glenn got the job here, downtown, right, in the business community. Like he took now Louis was always loved, so that's the difference.
Yes.
But that being said, he sort of took the Louis path into becoming a junior Louis.
Yeah, he did. And they're very good friends, by the way. So it's a good observation.
But I mean, because like he couldn't, when Glenn was coaching here, it was always bristly with the media, right?
Except for me, he was always really nice to me.
Well, probably because that by that point at KQ, you probably didn't talk too much Gopher football, though.
Well, that's probably true. Yeah, I mean, that's like I said, we had a 30-some share, 35 share, or whatever the hell it was. So we just kept. Those were the days when you open the mic and go, whatever comes out, comes out. I just don't care.
That's got to feel good.
Oh,
that's got to feel damn good.
It does indeed. But I want people to know, by the way, that Gary Holman, again, I did Chrysler commercials for BBDO for years with Gary Holman. He's just a great guy. Hired me many, many years ago.
Yep.
He's always been a good friend of Glenn Mason's. Anyway, both those guys I hadn't seen since before COVID. So it's 5 years now, correct?
Yeah, 2020, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so it's 4 years.
March
4 or 5 years, something like that.
Yeah.
I am not exaggerating one bit. Gary Holman and Glenn Mason look younger than they did 5 years ago. What the hell is that?
Well, getting out of coaching is gonna be a lot.
Good point.
It probably de-ages Glenn a little bit.
Yep.
That's very true.
Great point, Tevin.
I always love hearing his stories about when he was on the road recruiting and coaching, just because there was one I heard he was recruiting a kid and he was very attached to his girlfriend. And he was like, I'm always skeptical to recruit kids that have a girlfriend because they're going to be thinking more about getting back to her for the weekend than they are about what's going on in practice. So hearing some of his just outlandish theories and how he put together a team is great.
I think that stuff is wonderful, though. So yet again, and I look at that, because like I said, I found out yesterday that I lost an acquaintance and I lost a relative yesterday. Didn't feel that great. But getting together with both of those guys, Glenn Mason and Gary Holman, it was just a dream come true. They looked phenomenal. We laughed our ass off. People they kept coming over because they brought all this food. Well, of course they brought all this food because they gained 3 pounds of eating one meal, which should be impossible, I would think. But it wasn't. But I am so lucky, all the different people that I've met in my career and my life and all the rest of it. I'm a very fortunate person, I will tell you that.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Wonderful.
Question for you, going back to the death of Lewis. Paint for me the picture in the 70s of that group of guys who eventually actually got into TV and movies, though.
Yeah.
Richard Lewis, Belzer. I don't know
Belzer.
if he, but I mean he
phenomenal.
And if I'm not mistaken, he was prominent as a comedian in the 70s. Who was the guy that used to sub in for Carson sometimes? Was it was it it wasn't Belzer, it was I'm drawing a blank now.
To fill in for Carson. God, I don't remember.
I thought there was another comedian that filled in for, but like, what was that whole scene like?
It was okay. Richard Belzer. Last time he was in town, he comes in and he's sitting down and we're talking. We're on the air. We're sitting down. We're talking on the air about this and the other. He goes, "Hey, Tommy, I've been working on something. Is it okay if I kind of show off my talents to you?" I said, "Yeah, sure." I said, "What are you going to do?" And he goes, "I do a perfect impression of Garrison Keillor, who's from Minnesota." I said, "Yep, he was born in Anoka, Minnesota. Yeah. I know Garrison's a great guy. I should get him on the show, actually. He's a great guy." But I said, "So you can do him?" He said, "No, I got to be honest with you. And I'm not trying to sound arrogant here, but I do a brilliant impression of Garrison Keillor." Said, "Okay, ladies and gentlemen, Richard Belzer as Garrison Keillor. I woke up that morning and I looked out the window at the farm on which I lived, and I saw a rooster that took the garden hose and shoved it up a pig's ass." I'm like, I don't know that Garrison would have told that story, to tell you the truth. I think you might have missed a point or two there, Mr. Belzer. Lost him, what, about a year ago now?
Yes.
He died about a year ago, right?
He did.
So it's everyone that I meet just dies. Is that the plan?
Well, time takes its toll, I guess, but that is sad stuff. Oh, you know who I was thinking of? David Brenner.
Oh, David Brenner's phenomenal.
Because he was in that same time period.
Those guys were so incredibly funny. I know we only got about a minute left, and it came up yesterday, but Judd, I want to get your take on this. Seattle Comedy Club shuts down 4 acts because they didn't believe that your jokes fit in with the views of the people in the city of Seattle. So they canceled, including Jim Florentine, who's one of the funniest guys on stage you'd ever want to see. They canceled 4 shows because their politics, while they were doing their comedy, were not right.
Then why are you a comedy club?
Exactly.
Right.
That's the whole point of comedy.
Jesus.
Right. It's like the last form of free speech that genuinely exists in the world. And also do your research before you book them. Like, I don't book AJ without knowing what he's about to go up on stage to say.
Don't add that last part. You just told me I don't book AJ. That's
Yeah,
all
you just
said.
basically just poor AJ. I mean, he had this great act going, but it is bizarre. You think about the whole point of comedy is to push the envelope.
Yes, absolutely.
Like, that's why it's there. It's supposed to border on offensive. Like, if you're going to not book acts or cancel acts, which is worse, then you should just close your comedy club. It's not a comedy club.
Because you don't agree with my politics, I cannot hire you. What is wrong with you?
Well, yeah, that defeats the whole purpose of the whole thing.
It absolutely does. And we don't all live the same life. We are going to have different views on certain things. I cannot think exactly what you think because I'm not you. I didn't live your life.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh God, yeah. Yeah, no, that makes no sense. That literally is one of the stupidest things I've ever heard. So you're going to gear your comedy club towards a specific form of commentary, which means that you don't have a comedy club. You have a cult.
Yeah, you have like a cult or a city council meeting. Like,
yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
That's sad.
Exactly right. Well, I've never been to Seattle, and I highly doubt that I'll ever go there now. I cannot stand the people that do things like that. Let him be funny. If you're so offended, then don't go see him.
Well, right.
How about that?
Well, and I was going to say, if it's because they had sold 0 tickets.
No, they were all sold out.
Okay, well, that's BS then. That's complete BS.
It's absolutely. Jim Florentine could not be a nicer man. He's a great guy. He's very funny. Crank Yankers, I thought was fun. I don't usually like stuff like that.
Yep.
But because Jim Florentine did it, I thought it was hilarious.
Yep.
So I don't know. I should probably reach out to Jim Florentine. We should probably get him on to talk about that. That'd be great.
Yeah, well, he's been quoted saying like he doesn't really care. He's glad that he didn't have to go up in front of that crowd. And then other comedians have come out and said they wouldn't be surprised if this comedy club closes down soon, just because this is kind of the straw that breaks the camel's back. And I guess it's been a poorly run club and kind of a empty club for a few years now.
Well, I know we got to go. So, Judd, I'm sorry, but I got to tell you that you and I disagree on some things in sports, so I just can't have you on anymore. Because you don't agree with me, so get lost.
I've been shut down. I'm like a Broadway play that lasted one night.
I have a question as we do go out.
Yeah.
How do you ever learn anything if you already think you know everything?
That's your parting question?
Yeah.
You know how long we could sit here and talk about that and that's exactly what's wrong with the country?
Well, it is what's wrong with the country. There's no doubt about that. I just love the fact that a guy comes up, stabs another guy to death. They'll give the name of the guy who was stabbed to death, but not the guy that stabbed him. They want to keep his information private. You're protecting a murderer. Okay, that's great.
Oh, boy. You know where it all started? It all started when the generation of parents came along that told their children that everything they did was right.
That's correct.
And decided that everyone gets a trophy.
Yep, everybody gets a trophy, except for if you're funny, then you don't get a trophy. You're out of the mix. How can you trash comedy? It's wonderful. This world without comedy, I couldn't even live in this world without comedy. I couldn't.
And it's supposed to be offensive.
Yes, absolutely. All right, Judd, well, I'll try to hang in there till next Tuesday when I'll talk to you again.
Yes. You know, no problem. I will plan on coming back, but if AJ or Kevin inform me that that I've gotten the hook, the Gong Show hook, the cane has come out, I will understand.
just remember, he looked out the window and saw a rooster shove a hose up a pig's ass. Which, how do you even come up with a line like that?
I would expect nothing less from Belzer.
Well, that's true.
I would expect nothing less. You knew you were being set up. You knew it. See you guys.
See you later, Judd. Thank you, sir.
Take care. Bye.
We'll take a break. Be right back in a couple of minutes. The joy continues with Chris Egert right after this. Mike Lindell and MyPillow employees want to thank my listeners for all your continued support. To thank you, they're having an overstock clearance and new product sale right now for the best prices ever when you use promo code TOM, and you get free shipping on your entire order. Get 50% off the MyPillow 2.0. Also get 50% off the brand new flannel sheets that just arrived and won't last long. 6-pack towel sets, only $29.98. And take advantage of the free shipping on larger items such as mattresses and mattress toppers. 100% made in the USA, on sale for as low as $99.99. Everything is on sale, from the brand new kitchen towels that have the same technology as the bath towels that actually absorb, dog beds, blankets, couch pillows, and so much more. To get the best specials ever, go to mypillow.com or call 800-516-5146 and use promo code TOM if you would, please. And you get free shipping on your entire order. So call 800-516-5146 or go to mypillow.com, and please do use promo code TOM.
This is Bob Sansevier, and I want to tell you about Dave Bialke from Bialke Law. Dave represented my wife, Mary, when she had a significant workplace injury. She was very happy with the job Dave did. If you have a work-related injury and have Dave represent you, I'm betting you'll be happy too. Dave is a down-to-earth guy. He grew up in northern Minnesota, rides a Harley, and worked various jobs doing concrete, electrical, plumbing, roofing, and carpentry work. Dave works for people with work-related injuries. If you work construction, or anywhere for that matter, and you're hurt or even just hurting, you should talk to Dave. Let's face it, our bodies wear out. If your body is worn out from work, if your knees or back or shoulders hurt from things you do at work, do what Mary did. Call Dave and talk to him about it at Bialke Law to set up a free initial consultation. The number to call is 763-571-2410. That's 763-571-2410. Or visit bialkelaw.com. That's BIALKE law.com.
Hello, I'm Brad Huckle, President and Chief Lending Officer at North American Banking Company.
And I'm Michael Bilski, CEO at North American Banking Company.
As a locally owned and operated community bank, we work with many multi-generational businesses.
Take Personal Care Dentistry of Roseville, for example. Dr. Walter Hunt, also known as Painless to me, has been a longtime customer of the bank since we opened the bank in 1998.
When his son Kyle was ready to join the practice, they wanted to expand quickly.
With their additional space and equipment, they now are able to see more patients each day while providing the same level of care and service.
Okay, guys, I'll take it from here. If you run a family business or any kind of business for that matter, you should be banking with Brad and Mike over at North American Banking Company. Every time I deal with them or their team, I know I'm working with experienced professional bankers. So why not bank with my banker? North American Banking Company, a better banking experience, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
You're listening to the Tom Barnard Podcast.
God, I will tell you what a wonderful life I have. I just went out to say good morning to Catherine, my lovely wife, whom I adore, as you know. I walk out, and the first thing she says to me is, "Did you hear that Richard Lewis died?" I said, "Yeah, honey, I did hear about that." She goes, "Remember last time he was on the family podcast?" I said, "Yeah, what about it?" She goes, "He was like babbling on and on and on. You couldn't even understand what the hell he was talking about." And I said, "Yeah, he was pretty rapid fire at times. You had to really pay attention to know what the hell he was talking about, because he could go quickly." But yeah, that was very sad. We lose Richard Lewis yesterday. Chris Egert, what the hell is that all about?
That was kind of his thing, though, right? Like he would just fire off, which was made it funny, like almost like stream of consciousness funny. That to have that kind of a mind that you could just, fire off like that, very impressive. That definitely sucks. I was sad to see he died.
Well, it's one of those mornings, too, because the guy who introduced me to him was Ron Rosenbaum, who was my attorney, and he was on my podcast a lot. And then Richard would come in and do the podcast because he and Rosenbaum were good friends, and I got to know. I mean, Richard and I never became best of friends or anything like that, but we were friends. Just a really nice man. Sorry to see it.
Yeah.
So that's that. Chris Egert's news, Channel 5's Chris Egert, brought to you by Mr. Money Talk, Josh Arnold. Call Josh today for your free 48-minute evaluation, 952-925-5608. Chris Egert, what's happening, Pally?
Well, not much great, to be honest with you.
Oh. What a shock.
I mean, unless you call the state budget forecast, which is being unveiled right now, exciting news. It's important, don't get me wrong, but it's kind of a, I don't know. It's a fairly, it's kind of a snoozer.
Do you know that the U.S. government has a bill on the president's desk right now? The interest on what we owe is $1 trillion.
That doesn't surprise me when you think about how, and it's a state level. It's different. Obviously, it's a lesser amount of money, but and God bless any politician who comes in at the federal level and says, I'm gonna balance the budget. Like, how could you couldn't possibly balance the budget at this point, which is sad because that just kind of puts our country behind the 8 ball forever and in perpetuity until we can. I don't know though. How do you balance budget when we give aid to, everywhere in the world?
Everywhere in the world. Yep.
There's other aid that's still being held up or tied up right now, and the Ukraine, Israel aid. And that's all part of the bigger spending bill that they did come to an agreement on to keep the government running for until they start talking about it next month. But
I still love the fact we've entered an era in our world where everybody's at war with everybody, and those countries are saying, if you don't support us, we'll attack you eventually. It's going to end up being World War III. It's going to be horrible, blah, 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 blah. I mean, what a great time in history right now. There's no good news at all.
I mean, Caitlin Clark was at the barn last night. That's exciting.
Okay, yeah. It is very, very exciting.
More excited for the opposing team's player coming in than go first. Never mind. Got beat by 30.
Right. One of my friends was watching the game, and I didn't watch the whole thing, obviously, because I had to go to bed. But he was saying at the end of the game, there was a camera on Caitlin Clark as she was walking around signing autographs, and Goldie was there to get an autograph signed. But then the camera cut away from it right as it was happening.
That's very sweet that would happen.
Funny.
I thought
It's pretty funny. Like, listen, I got a girls basketball player at home. Like, the fact that there's excitement around the sport, I'm glad. I like that she's got swagger, and I like that she's got people interested in the sport, beyond sort of just the parents and players. So good for her.
Yeah. And she's going to kind of prop up the Minneapolis economy here. We're hoping that Iowa, when the Big Ten women's tournament comes, you hope Iowa makes it as far as possible because people are coming specifically to see her. And so that'll help a lot of people out by bringing money in here.
It's already sold out, which has never happened before. So
really?
Yeah, the Big Ten women's tournament has never sold out before. A couple stories came out in the last few weeks about that. So it's sold out, which is a huge deal. And everyone's like, well, it's because Caitlin Clark. So to Tevin's point, we'll see if Iowa gets a little run there. Would like to see the Gophers do something too, but one of their best players is hurt, and that's going to be pretty tough for them.
I understand that completely, ladies and gentlemen. I just, I think it's great news. I love the barn anyway. I know some people don't like that. I love that building because of a lot of it has to do with the phenomenal memories I have. I got to play on that court a couple of times, which was so damn cool doing that. And it just reminds me of Jim Dutcher and Clem Haskins and some great times for Gopher basketball. It really does. It's wonderful.
It's a cool spot. I mean, I definitely get from when you try to compare it to other more modern facilities, it's apples to oranges. Like, it's an old building. And if you're into that and you're into the charm, it's kind of like people who like to live in an old house versus to live in a brand new house. Like, they're not the same thing.
And I want you guys to go back because we got Tevin and AJ are too young to remember. Chris, you didn't live in the area. But when the old stadium, the old curved open-end stadium was still there, the stadium announcer was a guy named Julie Perlt, who was one of the greatest of all time. I was at a game one time, and he would go, "The Gophers have the ball on the 22-yard line. First down." That's how he did it. He does that whole deal. He goes, "Gophers have the ball on the 26-yard line. First down." Pause. there's a squirrel on the field. Like, what? And I look and there's a little squirrel running across the field. He announces there's a squirrel on the field. See, I love those memories, man. That's just a great, I think I was like a teenager when that was. Maybe I was in my early 20s, but just those joyous, wonderful memories of Julie Perlt, who, by the way, parted his hair right down the middle.
Oh, really?
So he looked like, the new vaudeville band, which was kind of cool. But just the way he handled it, he would talk about anything. Oh, look at the shirt on this guy. I mean, he would bring that up it's just wonderful. Sorry, I'll get out of your way. I'm having a lot of wonderful memories this morning.
Listen, I like walking down memory lane. I'm a fan.
I do too. I love it. No question. So, any other big news? I know you got to go in like 1 minute.
I don't want to get into it too much because it's an awful story. But if people want to go to our website and read it, there's a guy who was a Vietnam vet using a frickin' walker with his wife at the park in St. Paul and Harriet Island, and there was some people taking a leak over the way. He was obviously mad about it. He started getting video of him, and a 17-year-old came over and like punched the guy in the side of the face. He had to go to the hospital because he wouldn't stop bleeding. Anyway, the dude died.
He did.
He's dead.
Jesus.
A 17-year-old just decked him because all he was trying to do seemingly was like do the right thing and try to like report somebody. He was pissing in a park and probably shouldn't have been. Right. So it's that story makes me so mad.
Did they catch the 17-year-old or?
Yeah. Charged with first-degree assault, but that could change now because this guy died. It's still unclear what the injury was precisely that happened, but so I may be careful how I say it. But you go look at that story and listen to his widow talk on our website.
Yeah.
And if that doesn't make you angry about the way things are, I don't know what will.
Well, the news makes it very, very evident. You can go ahead and punch anybody you want. Well, matter of fact, we'll talk about the guy who got punched, but we won't talk about the puncher. They're opening the door to so much violence, these morons.
Hey, don't necessarily just blame the news.
I'm talking about the national news, not
blame
your
the people who are supposed to be prosecuting them and are not doing a good enough job of
it.
Yeah, I would agree with you, Chris, where it feels like the people that commit a crime and then get the slap on the wrist and go back out, it's like, well, now I can push the envelope a little bit more and do something a little bit worse because I know that I'm not going to be held accountable.
It sucks. Matter of fact, it's time for you to punch out. Get it, Chris? I just said punch out, huh?
Too soon.
Too soon. It's time for you to check out. How about that? Check out.
Happy Leap Day, everybody.
Happy Leap Day, Pally. February 29th. Happens, every 4 years?
Not precisely 4 years. That's what's interesting about it. Yeah. It's not an exact thing. So then every 4 years, every once in a while, like once a century or some ridiculous thing, they've got to skip the leap day to get it back on track. It's this whole, I did a deep dive on it this morning and like, I was like, oh boy, I regret even going down that rabbit hole, actually.
You know what's amazing is I read this morning that if they didn't have leap day, February 29th, if they kept the regular calendar, Christmas Day would be in July this year.
Yeah, and to that point, that's why it was the Catholic Church actually that got in and sort of put it to where it is today. I was reading because they wanted the one of the Roman, was it Caesar? I don't remember. It was like ancient Rome or Greece. They wanted their calendar to line up with the church calendar to line up with sort of the pagan calendar, which was based on like moon cycles. And it's a whole freaking thing, man.
You are correct, sir. So we'll have
I regret even bringing it up, to be honest with you, because my head's spinning again.
Okay, don't ever call in again. Just tomorrow we'll just skip right over your segment.
Fair enough.
There's a squirrel on the field. All right, Chris, thank you, sir.
Bye.
Channel 5's Chris Egert, brought to you by Mr. Money Talk, Josh Arnold. Call Josh today for your free 48-minute evaluation, 952-925-5608. We'll be right back. Robert Baril will join us right after this. February is the month for love. When is the last time you gave your carpet the love and attention it really deserves? Have you gotten down on your hands and knees and adored how clean and refreshed it was? Or are you scared what you might see or smell maybe? Not only is your carpet one of the biggest investments in your home, but it's also the biggest air filter in your house. Lucky for you, Zero Res is going to spread the love to you and your home with their Love Your Rug special. Get 3 rooms, Zero Resified, starting at just $119 and a free hallway. Don't forget Dirt and Dander's favorite hiding place, your air ducts. This month, take $75 off when you get your air ducts Zero Res clean. Call Zero Res right now, 952-ZERO-RES, 952-ZEROREZ, or go online at zeroresminnesota.com and say you want the Tom Barnard Show special. Protect your employees and customers by getting your business Zero Resified by the pros at Zero Res. Call today for your commercial cleaning estimate. Spell it forward or backward. It spells the same. Zero Res.
Recently, Jim Paul of Valley Buick GMC was contacted by a company that does on-site sales. Jim was confused.
Wait, they don't know anything about us, our staff, our reputation, most importantly, our customers.
Hey, pal, no problem. We do them all over the country. You know, get the manager off the roof sale, inflatable gorilla sale, and our favorite, the 13-hour sale with a giant clock that goes to 13. Urgency, baby. We bring our crew because, well, your people are, let's just say, a little laid back.
And the pricing?
Nothing special, sport.
But Jim thought we price competitively every day. Our prices are special. We definitely don't need these guys. But sale does convey some urgency, so we made a bold decision for his fine dealerships.
Announcing the Valley Buick GMC 365-day sale. And we can even extend it a couple years or so.
I got the air dancer guy, scratch-offs, plastic keys, bubble machine.
Valley Buick GMC in Apple Valley or Hastings, or valleycardealers.com. Hurry.
Have you enjoyed Minnesota's non-winter this year? Want to enjoy the warmth whenever you want? 2 Minnesotans can help you live that dream. Matt Carlson from Realty One Group Destination Key West grew up in Litchfield, Minnesota, started out helping his friends find homes locally and in Florida, and now he can help you. If you've considered living in the warmth of Florida, now is the time to reach out to your new friend in Realty, Matt Carlson. It's a buyer's market now, and your Minnesotan friend Matt can help you with a new home here or in the Florida Keys. And if you need some guidance with financing, Kristyn Eklund from Coast to Coast Mortgage can help. Kristyn is Matt's preferred lender, can finance anywhere in Florida, and like Matt is one of us, as she hails from the Sartell, Alexandria area. So if you're looking at a new home in Minnesota, or maybe that second home or retirement place in Florida, trust your new local friends. Contact Matt and Kristyn. Visit onekeywest.com. That's onekeywest.com, or call Matt at 612-791-2345, 612-791-2345, and work with local professionals you can trust.
This is the Tom Barnard Podcast.
There's no doubt about it. Robert, ready to go?
He's having a little trouble. He was going to join on StreamYard, so I think he's just going to call in on the phone. So as soon as he is ready, I'll let you know.
Oh, he's not going to do StreamYard? That would have been kind of cool.
It sounds like he may be having some tech difficulties.
It'll happen. Whoever has tech difficulties.
Right. Yeah. Only everybody.
Only everybody every day. It's true. Everybody every day. All right. Yeah, let me know when he's ready to go because I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, we'll do.
Robert Baril Comedy Night at 318 Cafe tonight, February 29th from 8 to 10 p.m. Tickets at explortalk.com. That's explortalk.com/31B, or excuse me, it's 318 Cafe. That's what it is.
Yep.
Yes.
The 318 Cafe is, where is it?
It's in Excelsior.
Oh, it is. Okay. That's Look at that.
Self.
Look who's now on camera. Robert Baril.
Damn spam email.
Damn spam. That's all I have to say to you.
All it is, it's the link that Tevin sent me, and then about 95 emails from Dean Phillips reminding me that he exists as a human being.
Absolutely. There's no question. You know what's so funny about that, Robert, you mentioned, because he called me about, I guess it was a year or two ago when he was running for office. And he called, actually called a friend of mine and said, do you think Tom would have me on his show so I could talk about, running for Senate? What the hell is he, in the House? He's in the House of Representatives, right? I don't even know.
Yeah,
but
whichever one was attacked. Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
So he came in and sat next to me, and we talked and blah blah. Seemed like a nice enough guy, and at the very end he goes, "Tom, would you ever consider endorsing me?" I said, "Yeah, you know what? You're a good guy. I can endorse you." He came over and gave me a big hug. Last time I ever talked to him. Never heard from him again. What a politician, huh?
Mm-hmm.
They're all the same. I don't care, Democrat, Republican, they're all the same. So ignore me now.
Yeah. Well, that's the funny thing, too, is that everybody's, and rightfully so, ready to move on from Biden and Trump. And then it's like you look at anyone around them and it's all like Gavin Newsom. I mean, Ron DeSantis. Like,
it's true. No, you're absolutely right about it. Now, I do have to read this in a very professional way. I want you to know that. Robert Baril, hailed by the Minneapolis Star Tribune as the sharpest political commentator on the Twin Cities comedy scene. What do you think of that intro?
Oh, that's great. That's a hell of a read. I want that to be my voicemail, if you don't mind. I'm going to, next time I'm there, I'm going to get a recording of that, and I want everyone to hear that.
I want to do this, too. I want to do one where I just go, so your phone rings, and then my voice comes on and goes, "The hell do you want?"
That's not bad. I like that, too.
That'll be good. You
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that, Robert?
Take that, Dean Phillips.
I mean, he's a nice enough guy, but it's just these politicians. I'm like, come on, man. You know what I really love? Because I spend about, I'd say 30 seconds per channel on this. I tune in and I watch CNN for 30 seconds. Then I watch Fox for 30 seconds. And here's what I heard. You know what? Your guy sucks. Turn it up. You know what? Your guy sucks. It's like all-star wrestling.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's commodified news. So it's almost like, okay, this is news for the left. This is news for the right. So, yeah, I mean, you watch and it's two separate universes that exist. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. I guess BBC's not too bad. I don't mind like doing the international stuff because I feel like it's less combative. It's just some very pale person that doesn't have enough vitamin C, that doesn't speak well. Like that's the problem is the news that's good for you. It's almost like a vegetable. The person looks like a vegetable, right? It's not exciting. It's not sexy. It's someone with lupus that isn't happy to be there. They've lost. The two of their colleagues have been murdered that week because they're in the field, and that's where you want to get news from.
Yeah, that's none of that's great news, to tell you the truth. I got to be honest with you. I do have to ask you this, and I don't want to take up all your time with it, but I saw you were going to be on, and I went, oh God, we got to talk about this. What the hell are they thinking in Seattle? Did you see the story?
Oh yeah, Jim Florentine and those guys.
Yeah, Jim Florentine couldn't be a nicer guy.
Oh yeah. I mean, I don't know him personally, but I've seen some clips and stuff, and I would imagine. And to have done comedy for as long as he has, probably the 90s, whatever. I mean, you must treat people well. They have you back. You have a career. Like, I don't know, this idea that every single audience member is going to be so sensitive as to not grasp what comedy is at a comedy club. I mean, that's why I love Acme so much, is the attitude that Lewis has, where it's comedians first. And then if you go there and a comic offends you, well, then that's on you for not looking this comic up, and don't go see that comic again. Like, also, no one's forcing you to go to the show. As far as I know, comedy isn't mandatory in Seattle. They didn't pass any law where it's like from Thursday to Saturday you have to see this comedy show. You know, you could see someone else. So it was pretty crazy when I saw that.
You know, Robert, you know what I thought of immediately when I saw, we're talking about, ladies and gentlemen, is the Seattle Comedy Club canceled 4 people because their jokes didn't line up with the political views of all the people in Seattle. So they just got rid of them and just said, you're canceled, you can't come in, and all the rest of it. And I was watching that whole situation, and I thought, this is basically, they've moved Portlandia to Seattle. I mean, basically.
Well, the Portlandia, the show, had a tremendous sense of humor.
So, it did, yes.
Yeah. I mean, I think, well, part of it is all this talk about equality and stuff on the left, where it's like, okay, well, I'm going to treat everybody equally. This is kind of Dennis Miller's thing. And it's like, but I make fun of everybody, so I'm going to make fun of everybody equally, like, no matter what your situation is, we're all a part of the shit show that is life on this planet. So I'm just going to poke fun at people. And, or like Dave Chappelle, like he shits on white people more than any other.
Yes.
So, I mean, I don't know. I think part of it's just to signal, and so much of it is just virtue signaling of like, okay, we're with you. Okay, as if telling a few jokes means you're not with somebody. I mean, when did every single word a comedian says have to be taken as gospel?
Well, plus the fact I loved Portlandia. I think the very first episode I ever saw was they wanted to meet the chicken before they ate it. I thought that was...
Oh, yeah, the organic thing. They go to the farm and what's his name? Sudeikis is like a cult leader or something.
Yes. Yes.
I'd be curious what a fun show would be taking the few clips that got these comics unbooked from the club or whatever, and then in a very Lenny Bruceian way, like staging this little jury, and then the comic can be like, "All right, come on, like this really, like where's the chance to just?" Because I guarantee you, it's probably some aside and. Again, if it's clips, so a lot of comics aren't necessarily posting the polished stuff on clips, and so it's half-baked stuff, and you want attention because again, it's the algorithm, Like I can't tell you how frustrating it is to like put some time, energy, effort in. You post a clip and then it gets 15 likes and 400 views, and you're like, what the fuck am I doing with my life? But meanwhile, you give a British accent to a cat, and he's got a TV show next week. And so, there's no rhyme or reason to this. But and then it gets clipped. It gets so they post some half baked thing, and it goes viral. But it's not like, So if they say trans in it, or they joke about lesbians, or who knows what was in the clip, I can only imagine. But I mean. Florentine probably gets, Metzger, I think they have decent following. So it's also well, their fans are probably, so now their fans don't get to see them at that club.
Do you agree? Ridiculous. We were talking about this yesterday a little bit. I don't think that Don Rickles or Richard Pryor would make it in comedy these days. I just don't think that people would tolerate the fact that they were that funny.
Yeah, probably not. And I think it's very easy for the left to be like, well, no, they did it a different way or they did it whatever. But if you put, especially Rickles, I think is Rickles, like Richard Pryor mostly went at himself during the set and was very, I mean, he could be obscene, but it was normally the fire was always literally was directed at him. Whereas Rickles would just start shitting on people firing squad style in the crowd.
Loved him.
And yeah, I mean, I don't know, probably not.
And by the way, I'm sure you met Rickles. I met Rickles in studio a couple of times. Just could not have been a nicer man in real life. He's just a sweetheart of a guy.
Well, and that's the other thing that I think people fail to realize is that was part of the act of seeing Rickles. Like you went to get made fun of. That was part of the experience of it. And I saw Dennis Miller and Dana Carvey and Kevin Nealon at the State Fair many years ago. And Dennis kind of talked about that. So they had a lineup of people that would ask him questions. And Dennis would kind of roast everybody that came up to ask him a question.
Right.
As part of that tradition of like, okay, no, it doesn't matter what you are or what you believe or anything like that. I'm just going to razz you a little bit because that's just part of the tradition of comedy. And it's like, what are you, it seems a little, like, okay, so now an entire tradition has to change. And I get sensitivities. I get that people are going through stuff. But again, research the comics, right? Like just, okay, if you're worried about, if there's going to be any ridicule coming your way, then you go see Tig Notaro, you go see Mary Mack, you go see any one of a plethora of comics that don't do that kind of style.
Yeah. You don't blindly walk into a movie theater, sit down, and then complain that the movie was bad. No, like watch the trailer, do some research, and then pick the one you want to go to.
Especially in 2024, like they'll post clips of the comic. You just click on the comic. You can more so than ever. You find out who's performing, you go to their social media, you're going to find 50 clips of this person. And then you decide whether or not you want to go. Or just don't book them in the first place. Like this is the absolute worst case. And like, it wouldn't have even been an issue if it's like, if one of these guys, their management, or they contact them and then they look at it and they're like, no, I don't know if it's a right fit. Okay. But to book and then unbook,
I know. It makes no sense. And to get a little personal about it, looking at it, I had a very, very rough childhood, very poor. My dad hauled away in a straitjacket and all the rest of it. I could not have lived without comedy and music. That kept me going, kept me moving. The fact that I could turn on the TV and laugh at Alan King. He was on Ed Sullivan every damn Sunday, I think. Comics and singers saved my life when I was a kid. Very depressed all the time. And if I couldn't laugh at comedians, I don't know where I would have ended up. Comedy is very important. I hope people do understand that.
Very important, but also it doesn't have to be right. I think that's
right.
Where I think at a certain point after like the Me Too movement and other things, I think there was like this push from the left within comedy where your jokes couldn't have targets, you couldn't, and I get the not punching down, but I think it led to a certain laziness on both sides. On the left, the laziness was, well, jokes can't have targets. If you're a white male comic, you can't talk about anyone that's not a white male. And then on the right, the excuse was like, well, you can't say anything anymore. And it's like, well, that's not true. You can still say, like, now you're just not saying anything. Like, now you're talking about how you can't talk about things. Just say what you're going to say. Because I definitely feel like the pendulum's kind of swung back a little bit more now where, not in Seattle, I guess, but as far as like the content of what you're talking about on stage, if it's well thought out and clever, you're going to get most people that come with you, and you're always going to have the assholes that complain or are offended or don't get it or whatever. But what I love about Chappelle and is just that sense of like playfulness and being outrageous, and Bill Burr too, where it's like, I don't even agree with this, but let me just follow this train of thought to its absurd final conclusion. And then just kind of, or just something that's like so horrible they can't help but laugh, but they're joking about it. I mean, that's it. No one's ever died at a comedy show. And if they did, it wasn't, because of the material that the comedian was performing. So
Robert, you got to come in once in a while, man. There's no doubt about it. Because I agree with everything you just said. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Yeah. I mean, I just try to, kind of keep my head down and do my material, which I think is what I talked about there of being like the smart, clever. I try to find a take on an issue that's not right versus left, but more just like sanity versus insanity or whatever, and then using that. And so I think there are ways to go about it, certainly, but it's kind of frightening a little bit with the losing the booking thing. And so I think with that, it's a little bit harder because it's for the left to be like, well, no one ever really gets canceled. And so Chad Daniels has a very funny bit on his last special about how you don't get canceled. You just change your fan base and stuff. But once you start losing bookings, it's a little disconcerting, because then it's like, okay, now what do I have to defend? Like, how far back if someone at that club has an axe to grind with one of the performers, well, now how far back within the catalog of that comic's work can they go to find? Well, on one podcast 7 years ago, he made this joke about a black lesbian, and that's, my friend's a black lesbian, so now we don't want to, so who knows? I mean,
why can't we just go with I'm a black lesbian? I don't give a rat's ass what you think. What's wrong with that?
Exactly. Yeah.
Like whatever. Comedy Night 318 Cafe tonight, February 29th. So you're only going to do this show every 4 years? Is that the plan?
Yeah, no, they're getting started doing comedy, and they're like, well, it's a door deal. And I'm like, well, shit, I better promote the fuck out of this thing. So,
well, you're always welcome, man.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I appreciate the help trying to get people. I didn't even know where Excelsior was. I had to look it up. I'm like, what kind of magical King Arthur village have I found my Excelsior? This is ridiculous. But yeah, just by St. Louis Park. It's not too far. I'm like, oh, okay. Accidentally. Yeah. a nice little area.
Again, tonight, February 29th, 8 to 10 p.m. Tickets are exploretalk.com/318cafe. Robert, I'm very serious. You can come on every day if you want. I love the way you talk.
Oh, thanks, Tom. I appreciate that. I'll definitely take you up on that. Maybe not every day. This is a little early for me, but definitely when I'm gigging, man, consider me on.
You're a good man. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Have a good day. We'll take a break. Be right back in a couple minutes. We'll talk to Matt and Kristyn right after this. When you go to a restaurant, you expect the chef to be an expert. You expect your auto mechanic to be an expert when it comes to fixing your car. You judge them both by the results of their work. Josh Arnold is an expert in investments and planning your financial future. Josh Arnold is my expert, and he should be yours too. I talk to Josh every week, and he understands the market and the economy, and he knows how to plan for your retirement. Don't put it off another day. The man with your plan is Josh Arnold. Call Josh now for a no-obligation 48-minute evaluation. You've got nothing to lose, and you'll have an expert planning and managing your financial future. Call Josh at 952-925-5608. That's 952-925-5608. Investment services offered by Josh Arnold Investment Consultant, LLC Security Investment Advisor. Past performance is no guarantee of future results. All investments involve risk. All comments and opinions are Josh Arnold's and do not constitute investment advice. Tom Barnard is a paid endorser.
Is that text you're sending so important that you missed your turn? Is that text you're sending so important that you ran the red light? Is that text you're sending so important you didn't see the ball coming onto the road or the child that followed? Hi, I'm Mike Bryant from Bradshaw and Bryant. When you take your eyes off the road for even 4 seconds, your vehicle travels 100 yards. That's the entire length of a football field. If you absolutely have to text, you need to pull off the road somewhere safe and do it from there. Texting and driving is against the law and can cause serious injury or even death to you and others. Now that is important. We won't be in your collision, but if you are, please contact us.
Find Bradshaw and Bryant, personal injury attorneys at minnesotapersonalinjury.com.
Going farther with Mike Bryant on your side, seeking justice for the injured. Bradshaw and Bryant.
Say it's a new year. Why not treat yourself to a new gun from K&L Surplus and Ammo? I personally know Jim, the owner, and I'm not making that up. He's a great guy. First of all, I don't think promotions for people I don't like. So there you go. Jim's a great guy. He's been in the firearms business for over 15 years and knows how to set you up with the perfect firearm for your needs. K&L offers one of the widest selection of firearms in the region, including Beretta shotguns and Tikka rifles. High school trap teams are starting to form now, and K&L has a great selection of SKB shotguns. K&L has Tikka and SKB both in right and left-hand models. K&L also has a broad range of ammunition, including both American and European calibers. If you have a collection of guns that you'd like to sell, call Jim at K&L so he can help you get the best price through his network. K&L Surplus and Ammo is on Lake Drive in Lina Lakes and open Tuesday through Saturday. You can also visit them online, www.klgunstore.com.
You're listening to the Tom Barnard Podcast.
We are back, ladies and gentlemen. Look at this, from Lake Sotheby International Realty, Matt Carlson, recognized as Minneapolis-St. Paul Magazine as a super real estate. I said super real estate agent. Did you hear me?
I heard you. Can you guys hear me?
Oh, yeah, we can hear. Oh, AJ, good level there, huh?
Yeah, we're gonna have to. I'll work on it, but yes, we're all good.
We're fine. There's no question about it. Now, Matt, we got a lot to talk about. Not only, Lake Sotheby's International Realty and all the rest of it, but Catherine and I are headed down to Key West in the next couple of weeks to have a little dinner with Matt and Kristyn. So, I suppose we better start talking about when works for you, when works for us, start figuring this thing out. I understand that my favorite Italian restaurant, and by the way, before I finish that sentence, I had a little Italian food last night. I got on the scale yesterday morning and I had dropped a couple of pounds. I was very, very happy about it. One ate Italian food last night, gained 3 pounds. Now, I know it's fake and it'll go away, but that's one thing about Italian food that pisses me off.
I couldn't agree with you more. I love Italian food.
Oh, God, it's wonderful. So my restaurant is still open. The Arendano still is open, which I'm really... And you guys want to go there?
Yeah, absolutely. We've been looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's going to be. So what I'll do is I'll get on the phone with you guys. I'll talk to Catherine and you talk to Kristyn and we'll figure it out. And when's a good time? We'll probably, I would imagine, come down on a Friday night. And so it's we drive down on Friday after a bit and have a little dinner, and I'm looking forward to it because I have not been to Key West now in probably it's about 5-6 years. Before COVID, I know that.
Yeah, you're overdue. Let's do it. Maybe a Friday night or Saturday or something, whatever you guys want. We'll figure it out.
I do just love that area. That whole area down there is so magnificent, beautiful, and there's so many things to do. I don't know that people understand that Key West, there's a lot to do there that they don't really know about, whether it's, boat trips or going out, a lot of people water skiing, a lot of people riding the, what do they call those things? They look like, see, I'm from Minnesota, as you are, Matt, so it doesn't matter if it's on the water or whatever, it's still a snowmobile to me.
Right.
Jet ski?
Jet ski, there you go. That's what I'm talking about. So what's new with you, Matt? What's the latest?
Staying pretty busy down here. Actually, I just got back from Minnesota. I was up there for the last week. Some business, friends, family. I typically go back every other week. I mean,
do you really?
Yeah, quite frequently. I'm here 6 months in a day every year, because I got to maintain the Florida residency, I suppose. But
yeah,
I love to me, it's the best of both worlds. I live downtown Minneapolis. I've lived there for a long time. I love it here. But you can kind of get island fever. It's a 2x4 mile, so you get the, get the big city, you get the small island. You can count on good weather here.
Oh, yeah.
I was kind of looking forward to some snow and cold temperatures in the Twin Cities, but that didn't happen. It's not good for my Florida business. I'll just put it that way.
No, Matt, looking across, every time I watch the news at night, and there's a big article this morning in the Wall Street Journal, I think it is, about how people who don't have a lot of income are having a bitch of a time buying houses because there's not a lot of inventory, apparently, that's affordable for them. How do they work out something like that? I mean, obviously, we're talking about a lot of high-end real estate a lot of time, but I just wanted to run that idea by you that it's got to be tough when you're in that situation. And again, I was when I was a kid, that, it's got to be when you want to buy a house, you work your butt off, and then you find out that the price of poker just went up again, and you still can't afford to buy a house that you would like. That's tough, man.
It's really tough. I bought my first house right out of college in the year 2000, and the prices were kind of normal. Everybody was making kind of decent money. You could buy a decent house. I bought a house in St. Louis Park for I think $160,000 that needed a lot of work. I think it'd be $400 now had I kept it. But I honestly I kind of feel sorry for the youngest generation.
Yes.
I don't think incomes are really up that terrifically, and everything else is so expensive. And I mean, this last week, I had a first-time buyer. We wrote an offer on a condo in St. Paul, and it was like $180,000 or something. Full price, no inspection, closed quick. It was like 5 offers. We lost it. So I mean, stuff on the low end in the Twin Cities is still really selling well. Yeah. I mean, you think about 1.7 months of inventory. It's a strong seller's market. Frankly, there's a lot of buyers. Interest rates are up, but if you're sitting on 2 or 3%, you're not moving. You're going to stay put.
Do you think that we are going to get to that point? Because everybody keeps talking about June. June's the target that interest rates going to go down in June, and it's going to look much. Do you guys look at it that way? I
mean, I don't have the crystal ball. I hope they go down a little bit. I don't like this. For a couple of years, especially up there, we had, if you had a nice house for $300,000, you'd have 40 offers or something. I mean, it was just ridiculous trying to advise people. Like, oh, you should, offer $40,000 more on this house or something like that. And now, I think, something more balanced is better.
Yeah, Matt, do you have advice for people? Because you say obviously everybody wants to wait for the interest rates, to go down. Do you advise people to kind of wait it up because adversely they could also go up, or do you try to tell people just get into the market and when they go down, you can always refinance?
Well, it's hard. It's so hard to say. It's hard to advise on that because using just the Twin Cities as an example, like there's so little inventory, it is a desirable place to live. Mm-hmm. Will prices continue to go up? Well, they have been even since interest rates went up a year ago. You still got to live somewhere. I mean, the tax benefits, you're paying the mortgage down. Rents are high too. They are. Rents also went up, but it's still very doable.
I do a show with my family every day. You guys, as a matter of fact, you and Kristyn should come on that show as well and talk because it's a lot of the same people, but a lot of people that listen to this show, that show, and all the rest of it, and they call all the time about they talk about you and Kristyn, and why don't you have them on this show too, so we can talk, So yeah, if we could set that up in the next couple of weeks, that'd be great. But I'm going to stay on the phone with you so we can figure out what the perfect time is for Catherine and me to hop in the car and come on down and hang out. I cannot, like I said, it's been 5 years. I love going to Key West. We used to go every year, as you know, and I have always loved going there. It's just what a great attitude that place. Do people? I think a lot of people think, oh, Key West is probably really snooty, and it's just, but it's not at all. It's not like that at all.
No, there's no room for that here. You don't want to be wearing like fancy dress clothes out to go, go eat dinner on Duval. People will look at you crazy. It's gym shorts, tank tops, and flip flops is more the attitude, which is what I've always liked about it. I mean, before we kind of fell in love with Key West, we went to Miami all the time, Miami Beach, which is just the opposite. And then we discovered one time we drove down here, we never went back to Miami Beach again, and that was probably 14 years ago, I would say.
Yeah, Miami is totally, I love Miami too, but it's completely different than, let's say, Palm Beach. Then you got Miami, then you got Key West. All of them within, about 110 miles of each other, but phenomenal, totally different, but phenomenal in their own way. I love that about South Florida.
I think, just in the state of Florida, there is such a different, attitude and different type of experience depending on whether you like to go to Naples or, Palm Beach, Miami, Key West, Orlando, Tampa, St. Pete's gotten really popular. But there's really only one Key West, I think, and it's it's maybe not for everybody, but for people who love it, they love it,
No, from what I've seen, because I was doing a little comparison about, real estate is more expensive than it's been in a while. But if you compare real estate in Key West, which everybody thinks, a lot of people for some reason, Matt, think that if I'm going to buy a house in Key West, I'm going to have to spend $3 million. And it's like, no. You can, but you don't have to.
I have a listing right now, not far. I live in Old Town Key West, and I have a listing that's 550 square feet. It's a 1-bedroom, 1-bath. You share a pool with one other person. It's perfect for just a getaway. It's $700,000. Still a lot of money, obviously, but it's doable. And you find ways to save money here by not having a car and some of that stuff. And honestly, eating and drinking out, it's really not that bad. I think it's lower actually than downtown Minneapolis from what I've seen lately because there's so much competition.
Yep. There's no question. Well, I'm glad you came back on. How do people reach out to you?
Website, onekeywest.com, or else my cell phone number is 612-791-2345.
And you and Kristyn still do business in Minnesota as well, right?
We sure do. She just got back. She came home from Minnesota back here. I left, and she's got a lot going on up there too. I mean, we've both been in that market for a long time.
Right.
Yeah. So like I say, it's fun to go back and forth. For me, it's hard to be there 100% of the time. It's hard to be here 100% of the time. So just been trying to dial that in, and I think other people maybe would like it too.
Yeah, we got to lock you guys in because next week you got to have both of you on. I love it when you're both on because you go at each other. I love that.
Well, I could tell her so many times, don't forget tomorrow morning, 10 o'clock. And she's like, oh, I have a closing. And the funny thing is last week when I was setting up with AJ, he gave me 4 nice times and I set one. She's like, yeah, great. Just set it up whenever you can. So finally I decided Thursday would be better because I'd be back here and I don't want to get stuck in transit or something. And then as expected, she has a closing. But that's a good thing.
Shock. No, that is a good thing. You're absolutely right. It's a good thing. So here's what we'll do. I'll talk to Catherine. Catherine's going to a wedding in Atlanta this weekend, so she's not going to be around. But when she gets back, maybe the 4 of us should get on the phone and figure out the perfect time, and we'll get this thing done. It'll be great.
Yeah, that sounds like a great plan.
All right, pal. Thank you. We'll talk to you next week.
All right. Thanks, guys. Sounds good.
Thanks a lot. Matt Carlson, ladies and gentlemen, recognized by Minneapolis St. Paul as a super real estate agent, has been selling homes since 2002. Again, onekeywest.com, www.onekeywest.com. That's onekeywest.com. We'll take a break, be right back. Kristyn Burtt will join us right after this.
Hello, I'm Brad Huckle, President and Chief Lending Officer at North American Banking Company.
And I'm Michael Bilski, CEO at North American Banking Company.
As a locally owned and operated community bank, we work with many multi-generational businesses.
Take Personal Care Dentistry of Roseville, for example. Dr. Walter Hunt, also known as Painless to me, has been a longtime customer of the bank since we opened the bank in 1998.
When his son Kyle was ready to join the practice, they wanted to expand quickly.
With their additional space and equipment, they now are able to see more patients each day while providing the same level of care and service.
Okay, guys, I'll take it from here. If you run a family business or any kind of business for that matter, you should be banking with Brad and Mike over at North American Banking Company. Every time I deal with them or their team, I know I'm working with experienced professional bankers. So why not bank with my banker? North American Banking Company, a better banking experience, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Hi guys, it's Chris Egert from Channel 5 Morning News, along with my friends Megan Newquist and Ken Barlow. In the morning, we pride ourselves on sharing people's stories. I've been lucky enough to be part of this 5 Eyewitness News morning team for more than a decade now. This is where I've raised my kids and working alongside my friends for all these years. We're like a family too.
We are family, Chris. Working with you and Ken and Hannah, it is such an honor to help folks start their day every morning on Channel 5. We get to catch people up on the news that's happening, and Hannah is here to keep an eye on the traffic around town.
And when it comes to weather, I know people rely on me to plan their day and get their family out the door. Over the last 10 years, there are so many memories and so many laughs. I just love sharing the forecast alongside you guys.
I feel the same way, Ken. To all you who start your day with us here on Channel 5, we think of you as family too. Thanks for turning on 5 Eyewitness News in the mornings.
The Tom Barnard Show is proud to have partners like North American Banking Company, Bradshaw and Bryant, and attorney and advertiser Dave Bielke.
I've been advertising on Tom Barnard shows for years. I like Tom, not just because he's a good guy, but because the ads I run on his show bring me new clients that are hurt at work and need legal help. Tommy B works for me.
If you'd like to find out more about growing your business with the Tom Barnard Show, go to tombarnardshow.com, keyword partner. You're listening to the Tom Barnard Podcast.
Every time we come back to you, you're already smiling. What's that?
Do you want me to
all
be
about?
grumpy?
What the hell? Hey, crabby. No, I do not. I do not want you to be grumpy and crabby. There's no question about that. What's happening, sister?
My goodness. Always busy here in Los Angeles, but I'm sure that, I don't know if you talked about it earlier, but of course the loss of Richard Lewis was the big news yesterday. So, so sad. You know, and I was trying to remember like what I knew him best from, because I know a lot of people probably in the last decade or so, it was Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Yes, right.
But I used to be an avid David Letterman viewer back in the day, and he was a regular guest because I was like, where do I really remember him from? And it was from his appearances on David Letterman. He was always hilarious.
He was indeed. Kristyn Burtt Entertainment News brought to you by North American Banking Company. Go to nabanco.com to learn more. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. Yeah, it's a tough situation because my attorney, well, he's no longer with us, unfortunately. Ron Rosenbaum was a really good friend of Richard's. So Richard used to come in all the time and do the show, and I got to know him. He and I were acquaintances. I would say, yeah, we're kind of like pals. We weren't like best friends or anything like that, but I got to know him quite well. And I will tell you, he never shut it off. It wasn't like I'm on stage, I'm doing this, and now I'm off stage, I'm doing that. It was the same. I don't care where he was or what he's doing. He was the same guy. It was unbelievable.
That's got to be hard to be on all the time, though.
Well,
I wonder how he relaxed. I would be curious.
Well, he might have, you know. Although he lived to be 70, what, 74?
76. He was
76. That's right. He was 76.
Yeah.
So he lived, that's not a bad run, but there are a lot of guys in comedy and in acting and all that stuff that imbibe and things like that. So you always wonder.
He was supposedly sober over the last almost 3 decades, I believe.
August 1994 is when
94.
He says he was sober.
Okay, so 30 years.
That's probably why he lived to be 76. If he had kept it up, he probably would have died at about 46.
That's so true.
That's absolutely true. But a very nice guy, brilliant man. The funny thing is watching him in person, sitting across the table from you, doing what he did, you could read his discomfort doing it, but it's hard to explain what I mean by that. You could tell discomfort is what drove it in the first place, and he covered it up by being very funny. It was wonderful.
He will be missed. I mean, that's the thing. Like, we've lost a lot of comedians in the last 5 years or so. It's been brutal.
It has been really, really bad. And I saw last night on the news, all you people over 65 better get another vaccination. It's like, settle down. Are they ever going to stop shoving
COVID?
this? Yes.
Shouldn't you have just been protected for the winter like your flu shot and then called it a day?
That's what I thought, but now they want everybody. Apparently, there's a lot of money to be made or something like that, Kristyn. I'm not really sure.
I thought it was just like once a year. I don't know. Call me crazy.
It's never going to stop with this. I really wish COVID had never happened. Honestly,
I think everyone would agree with you on that. I do not think that there's a single argument on that.
No.
Because I still feel, I don't know, I feel like sometimes when I say this, it's crazy, but it was like this time warp where sometimes I almost feel like, did it actually happen? I mean, I know it happened, but it just feels like such a weird period of time in my life and obviously the rest of the world's.
No, you're absolutely right. And it was little babies and the elderly and this and that. Yeah. Like I said, I was vaccinated 3 times, boosted twice, and I still got it twice. So the vaccination did nothing for me.
No, they did do something. It didn't kill you. Like, that's the point.
You think I'm going to let some disease kick my ass? It's no way,
The point of getting the vaccine is to lessen the symptoms, not to, yes.
Nope, you're wrong.
Yeah, that's like a flu shot every year. Like the
It's like the flu shot.
Yeah.
You're not going to win this argument, Tom.
I'm going toe to toe with the disease. Is all I'm telling you. That's how it's going to happen.
The point is to not go in the hospital, and the point is not to die. That's why you get the vaccine.
I would not want to go into the hospital. That's very, very true.
No, you do not, and you
But it
don't
did
want to
piss
be. I
me
mean, some of those people that had to be intubated. I mean, once they intubated you, oftentimes that was the last of you with COVID. Before we had all of the vaccines and things like that.
You know what's so funny about that is COVID is the reason a lot of things in my life changed, because we're in Nashville and COVID was going on, and one of the people came to me and she was drunk as hell and she kept leaning into my face. This is during COVID. And I said, would you please back up? And I asked her several times. Actually, the third time I asked her, she sneezed in my face.
Oh, yeah.
And I got COVID about 3 days later, and it was reported to the company that I attacked her for. I didn't. I said, God damn it, like that. That's not really attacking someone. I mean, it's just, seriously, maybe I wish I had died. That's what I wish. Yeah,
We don't wish you had died, so we're glad you're here.
Okay, well, thank you. But I will never forget that. COVID affected my life in so many ways because people get drunk, sneeze in your face, you get pissed off because there is COVID, and then you're the bad guy? What?
Yeah, people had a very laissez-faire kind of attitude about COVID at the beginning of it. I remember working at a bar, and we knew that everything was going to shut down on Monday. And that Sunday, it was packed. Everybody's like, we got to get this one last party out. I remember people being at the bar coughing, and they'd make jokes like, oh, I don't have COVID type of thing. And then the next day, everything was shut down, and everybody had COVID. So, people didn't take it seriously.
It changed everybody's world. Like, my world does not look the same 4 years later at all.
No, it's true.
At all. How I work and how I just even like how Hollywood works, not the same. And we'll never return to what it was.
No.
And by the way, I was very lucky because the first time I got it, I hardly had any symptoms at all. I just tested positive. And then the second time I got it was a little more severe, but it was still nothing more than a cold. I mean, I stayed away from other people so I didn't infect them. But I was not that sick. I was sicker the second time than I was the first time, but it still wasn't that big a deal.
I got really sick the first time.
Oh, did you
Like,
really?
Really sick. Yeah.
Like mentally ill?
Not mentally ill. That's all on my own.
I do that by myself.
I can do that on my own. I don't need COVID. No, I got it at a conference in my first work trip, like after all of the craziness, and my producer gave it to me. Yay for me. But I was sick in bed, like flat out for about 2 weeks. And I would say it took me about 6 weeks to feel better. And then my hair started falling out as a reaction to COVID. Uh-huh.
Oh God.
If you go back and look at like photos from that time, because I have pretty thick hair, it was so thin. Like it looked like cotton candy. That's what I called it. I was like, I have cotton candy hair. And like I would like flip over my bangs every which way to like cover up. I had like bald spots here. It was bizarre. And it was like an autoimmune reaction to having COVID, which for some reason is something that my dermatologist said they were seeing in women and not in men.
Do me a favor. Lift up your wig so I can see your bald head.
My wig, I got lots of hair.
I got lots of
I've always had lots of hair, and
Yeah.
it was crazy all of a sudden to not have lots of hair. Like, and
Right.
I'd be in the shower, and there'd be like a clump. And I'm not talking like a little, it would be like a ball of hair, and you're like, oh my God.
That's
And then I got it a second time too, and it was super mild. It was like having just a regular old cold. So
Yeah, I mean it was very mild the first time, and it was a little tougher this time, but it never nailed me that hard. Like I said, the only reason
thanks
it
to
affected
your
me at all-
vaccines.
No, it was my personal strength and power. That's what did it.
It was your superhero.
My superhero
Crime fighting
Yes,
power.
that's exactly right. I just really wish that they hadn't gotten together in some, laboratory over in China and go, hey, how can we make some money? Well, that's a good way. Let's poison everyone. Sons of bitches. That's all I have to say.
Well, I oughta.
All right. What else is going on in Hollywood?
We've been talking about Paramount Plus. They're going to merge with somebody. Now the latest
Yeah.
rumor is that it's going to be Peacock, which I think is wild. We literally have gone through like every single streamer, maybe except for Netflix, of who Paramount is going to merge with. But they talked yesterday about what they're doing to cut budgets, and I was like, oh, none of this is good. Offshore filming. They're like thumbs up to that because it's too expensive to film the United States.
Yeah.
Not great. Lower budgets overall. So they said, even we're going to look at lower budget movies, things like Mean Girls, which did well for us. We're not going to look at, and I'm sure they didn't want to say it without saying it, but movies like Mission Impossible, which go over budget thanks to Tom Cruise.
Right.
They probably didn't want to mention his name and get him upset. They're going to lean more into unscripted. That'll be everything from documentaries, of course, to reality shows. And they said that they're really only spending about 50% of what they spent before the strike happened.
Really?
Yeah. I thought everything that they said, I was like, wow. And, they're the streamer and they're the studio that's in the most trouble. That's why they're looking to merge.
Right.
But this is what we're looking at ahead in terms of TV and film, probably in this next 5-year period.
Yeah.
Well, wouldn't that be like CBS merging with NBC?
Yeah. And we had that in Hulu, remember?
Yeah.
Hulu originally was owned by several networks. Now it's solely owned by Disney because Disney is in the process of buying out Comcast. But and they're trying to do it with sports too. I think that they're trying to do a big conglomerate sports network as well. And if the government allows it, the government allows it.
Yeah, true.
Does this put more pressure when they're cutting the budget? Does it put more pressure on writers because maybe you can't afford a guy like Tom Cruise, but we're going to try and do a Mission Impossible with a new up-and-coming superstar, so we have to make sure that the writing is more on point? Or how does that affect kind of the way they make the movie?
Yeah, I think that the writing is actually okay. I think it does affect your actors, though, and it affects the A-list actors that don't deliver the way that they used to. They're just not going to be able to make the money that they used to, and it's why we see them all diversifying very quickly into other industries or, owning other industries or becoming spokespeople on social media. You're like, why are they doing this ad? There's a reason they're doing this ad. It's because they have a lot of overhead. They need the money, or they just really like money. And this is the only way they're going to make it because Hollywood is not going to make them the money anymore.
What's funny about that is while all this is going on, I think programming is among the best it's ever been.
But it's stuff that's already been made.
Yeah, that's true.
That's where we have to really go. This has been stuff that was either already in the pipeline, stuff that was shot either before the strike or was greenlit before the strike. So now we're looking ahead toward the future. So this is stuff that is going to be filmed, let's say, from later 2024 on.
Right.
And we will see those effects sort of trickle down. I'm just going to say in the next 5 years or so, because they've got to figure out a way to navigate AI and all of this, navigate the strikes, try to avoid a strike with IATSE this summer, which is the cruise. I know they're doing a rally this Sunday, and I was like, oh, they're willing to strike. And I was like, please don't strike, because I'm not sure the entire entertainment industry and cities like New York and Los Angeles can weather through this again.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
No, I think that is true.
And will there be some middling shows that, maybe are doing okay, but because there's, bigger shows on the same network that kind of help prop them up and pull them along, that end up getting canceled 2-3 years from now just because of the budget cuts?
Yeah, and we're also seeing shows like maybe not getting the chance that they would, instead of like giving them, oh, we'll see one more season to see if the audience kind of latches on. They may be just quicker to cut them off at the first season. I think also, and we saw this on Blue Bloods, we saw that the, above the line cast, the name actors, they all took a 25% pay cut in order to do the final season.
Right.
We will probably see that happen on some long running shows as well, saying, hey, we can get you one more season, but in order to pay the crew, will you take a pay cut? And, most actors are going to say yes, because they're paid very well, especially they're paid very well in a long running show. But at the same time, again, that money isn't, you're not going to get that $1 million a season the way the Friends cast got.
Right. We could close with this. I'm hoping, because I'm a huge fan of Blue Bloods, I love that show. It's very well cast, very well acted, good stories. It's well written. The last episode, I want them to go into the police chief's office. That's Tom Selleck. He'll be writing, he's got a little pen, he's writing on a piece of paper. And maybe Wahlberg could say to him, Chief, what are you doing? I'm applying for a reverse mortgage. They could just tie the two together. What do you think?
It would be, and they can use the cross promotion, and they can pay like a promotional fee and support that episode.
I just love the fact that, let's talk about a reverse mortgage. It's like, no, you don't have enough money. You're doing reverse mortgage commercials.
Well, he took over for Robert Wagner. RJ
did
it for a long time. So, it's got to be, it's like, who's the next person in line behind Tom Selleck? Is it going to be George Clooney?
Well, could be. He's over there in Italy, though, living in his
he lives in
mountain.
France right now. He's in Provence. I actually
he's in
just did an
Provence?
article about this because he has an estate in Berkshire in the UK, and it is flooded. The River Thames has flooded, and like his backyard, his gardens, his tennis court, his veranda, all underwater. And he bought it only about a decade ago, and he has had 7 floods since then.
Oh, God.
So he has to go to Provence and raise the kids there because his wife didn't want the kids to go to school in London or in Los Angeles.
Well, what about Italy? He's got that house in Bellagio. It's
That
beautiful.
is their summer home. That is where they
I'm
summer in
sorry.
Lake Como.
AJ took that well, by the way. He took
My
that
veranda
well.
also flooded, and so I'm between verandas right now. Yeah.
I'm like, my condo garage flooded. Does that count?
All right, young lady, another brilliant report.
All right. See you all tomorrow.
We're looking forward to it. Thank you very much. Kristyn Burtt Entertainment News brought to you by North American Banking Company. Go to nabanco.com to learn more. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. Okay, we could go on with the show, but I have to apply for a reverse mortgage.
Yeah, funny enough, I do too.
Are those a good idea? I've heard they're not. It's not a good idea. Do you have an opinion about that?
I'm the wrong person to ask about a reverse
I have-
mortgage.
I have no idea.
I don't know what it means. Frankly, I don't know what a normal mortgage is. So
Yeah, there you go. Well, there you have it. We will talk to you guys tomorrow.